ready, there's a train come. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board.
All right, folks, you've got it. It is Nichols Live, and I am Larry Nichols. and today's Tuesday. Let me give the number because I have not been giving it out, which is the number for the listen line. If you've got somebody that you want to be listening, and I wish you would get them because we're nearing the moment in time when we've got to go to work, all of us. The number to listen in is 401 283 6754. That's 401 283 6754. And when you get there, you'll need to press 1 for channel 1. And another way to get the program is to go to leadingedgeradio.com, leadingedgeradio.com. And we always need, folks, you need to thank Greg Martin and the folks at Leading Edge for letting us come on. Without them, there would be no program. And without a program, we wouldn't be getting together. Now, today, if you want to call in, please hold off until later in the program. If you want to call in, the call-in line is 501-499-6022. 501-499-6022. Well, the word's out. The convention for Donald Trump has started. There was a bit of a row, it seems, on the floor, led by Mike Lee and others. And it was put down. So, barring anything that we can see presently, it looks as though Trump should be able to get through this convention with the nomination. But something happened last night that should never, never happen. Folks, it should never happen at the presidential level. Never. Donald Trump's wife gave her speech. Apparently, she was keynote speaker. I did not hear it. And today, all of the news is about plagiarism. Apparently, her speech, if you look at Michelle Obama's speech in 2008, whoever wrote the speech for Ms. Trump copied almost verbatim, in some cases verbatim, what she said. Now, in the scheme of things, let me just tell you, does that solve our problem with terrorism globally? No. Does it solve the problem with the killing of police officers in Dallas and Shreveport? No. Or Baton Rouge? No. No, it doesn't. But I'll tell you what it does do. It gives the media, which is basically an instrument for Hillary, it gives them something to attack with, something to disrupt the convention. And above all, to take Donald Trump's wife, her most important speech of her life, showcasing her to the entire country, and for her to be found committing plagiarism, especially of Michelle Obama, is just unacceptable. Just absolutely unacceptable. I do not blame her. I blame someone in Trump's organization. Now, this means there's two ways that could have occurred. Two. One way is the speech writer or writers, they're just stupid. You see, in Speech 101, certainly at the political level, and incredibly at the level of a presidential race, you triple check for plagiarism. Triple check. If that's not enough, you quadruple. If that's not enough, you do it 100 times. It's a mistake you do not make. Only rank amateurs would make such a mistake. That's number one. Number two is someone in Trump's organization spiked her speech. Someone did it on purpose. Now, I'm going to tell you, I hope, to be honest, my wish would be that it would be the latter. I know that sounds crazy, hoping that somebody in Trump's organization is a counter agent or a spy or a whatever mole. I know it sounds crazy wishing that were the case, but I would sure rather believe that than I had to believe that they have people that are just that inept. Because it's just the first of many speeches that are going to have to be done. Many. And guys, I'm telling you, Trump is going to have to tighten up his ship. If it was a mistake, he is going to have to tighten up his ship big time. It's going to be bad enough for Donald Trump to run against Hillary Rodham Clinton and the Clinton machine. The dirty tricks, their use of the media, that's tough enough. But you go at them with a non-professional, rookie, amateur staff, and folks, it'll be horrible, horrible. And, you know, I wouldn't care if it were just affecting Donald Trump. That wouldn't be that big of a deal, I suppose. Unless you're just bound to be for Trump above all else. But folks, it's our country we're talking about. Donald Trump is our hope to be able to stop Hillary. And we're not going to be able to do it. We're not going to be able to get in the game and stop Hillary if Donald Trump is surrounded by either amateurs or plants. You know, at some point, I've got to be able to get in the game with all of you. We've got to be able to suit up, us, and we've got to be able to get in this game. And we've got to be able to help Donald Trump. But we can't help Donald Trump if there are people on his staff at the high level that would be the ones approving a speech like the one his wife gave. And they're enemies of the camp. We're going to have a tough time, impossible time. This is our country that we're fighting for here. So, Mr. Trump, if you're listening, or if someone's listening that can get to Mr. Trump, please, on behalf of this nation, clean up your organization. Clean it up. That mistake is going to mar this entire convention. It will. If everything the rest of this convention goes perfectly, which it will not, But if it were to go perfect all the way, the thing that will be remembered is the event of his wife committing plagiarism. And guys, that's unacceptable. Unacceptable at this level. Totally unacceptable. Now, today, we've already got, just on the listen line, it looks as though, hold on, we've got some 7,638 people. And I want to remind everybody, this is just the listen line. This is not the internet streaming live. It's not the YouTube that runs after the program that Alden will put up. This is just listening on the listen line. So we have a formidable action force ready to suit up and go to war for our country. We are not going to go to war making speeches. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to go to war calling people that need calling and telling them what they need to be told so that they do what we need done. That's what we're going to do. Are we clear on that point? Please, are we? Now, I've gotten a couple of texts from listeners, and I know they're serious and earnest, trying to be helpful, that have asked me, Larry, what is it that you have on Hillary? Why don't you bring it all out now? In a couple of cases, I said, if you're not going to bring it out, give it to us. We'll bring it out. Let me tell you something, folks. No, you will not. No, you will not. And the reason you won't bring it out is because I'm not going to give it to you. Are we clear about that? You see, they would love nothing better. The Clintons would. They would love nothing better than for us to take whatever we might have and just blurt it all out, all at one time. Just get it out, Larry. Get it out. Number one, the media is not going to cover it. They're not going to cover it. Do I need to remind all of you who the media is? What they are? They're nothing but an instrument for the Clintons. So whatever the Clintons want out, they'll put out, be it true or not. Whatever they don't want out, they'll find a way to not get it out. But even if they did put it out, even if they took something that could hurt Hillary and put it out, don't y'all realize by now it would be maybe a day's worth of a story, maybe two, maybe even a week. It might last in the media a day, maybe a week. And then you know what'll happen? You just go away. You just go away. Now, that's if it got out at all. That won't do. That will not work. That will not defeat Hillary. So here, I'm going to tell you not what I have. Because what I have, by the way, is what y'all have. And I have a special guest waiting. So, Vanessa, if you don't mind, hold on, honey. It's not what I have. All of you will have. All of you. But it's what we're going to do with it that matters. And it's how we're going to do it. Let me give you the lesson right quick. Remember, 40, 40, 20. Let's all say it together. 40, 40, 20. 40% love Hillary. There's nothing we can do about it. Nothing we can do to change them. Nothing. 40% hate her. Nothing they can do will change that. The 20% don't care. Now, folks, they don't care. They're not undecided, as we have talked about over and over and over. But for new listeners, I don't call that 20% undecided. Undecided means you're thinking about it and they hadn't made up their mind. They're not thinking about it at all. They're concerned about who's going to win the Super Bowl, who's going to play pool, who's going to go bowling, whatever. They don't care. And then towards the end, as we near election day, about a week, maybe two before the election, they will look at the polls, and the person that is ahead in the polls, they will cast their vote for that person so they can brag around the water cooler that they voted for the winner. That's how it works. That's how it works. You cannot take news items. You cannot take things about Hillary and get that 20% to pay attention to it. You're not going to do it. They're not watching 24-hour news channels. When it comes to the news on ABC, NBC, CBS, the major networks, they're not going to watch it. They don't pay any attention to it. You can't reach them. The only way you're going to reach that 20% of the people that don't care, and I've said it and I'm saying it again, we have to entertain them. That's right. We've got to reach them through entertainment. And anybody that knows anything about programming for entertainment knows very seldom do you ever have a TV series that the first night out, people just buy into it hook, line, and sinker. It usually takes a few programs to get people, your audience, to grow the audience. Same holds with this. So, folks, when it's time to attack, and we're getting very near that time, we will break, let's just say, let's call it a scandal. What? Every couple of weeks. A scandal every couple of weeks until election day. And that scandal will be entertaining. I know that sounds crazy. And it may even be offensive to some of you because you're saying, my God, our country is more important than entertainment. Look, y'all, I don't care. I will do what I got to do to reach that 20% that are going to make the difference in this election and save the future for my grandchildren and yours. I don't care. I'm going to get to them. And if you doubt it, remember this. I'm not asking y'all to go on a journey with me based off some hypothesis I'm trying to work out or based off some epiphany of a concept I've had. I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do it to you, but more than I wouldn't do it to you, I would not do it with the future of my children, and our grandchildren. I will not do that. What I am saying is we're going to use a system I've used before, and it did work. How do you think Bill Clinton got impeached? It was this methodology, this one, that we're going to use again. But we're going to use it on Hillary. Now, we clear about that. I don't want any more confusion about it. I don't want any more John Waynes saying, hey, give it to me, I'll break it. If I wanted it broke, I'd break it. If I wanted to destroy our chance of stopping Hillary, I could do that myself. What I need is an army of about 10,000 people. 10,000 people. That's right, 10,000. That will do exactly what needs to be done all together at exactly the same time. And I will tell you, as I have told you before, the story of Gideon, I don't need 100,000. They're going to walk up to the water and drink like animals. I don't need that. I need 10,000 chosen by God that drink like humans. And remember, when you think all of this is just junk and we don't have a chance, I just ask you to remember one thing, and don't let me get preachy because I can't do it. I can't do preachy. But I understand that the same God that was there the day he took Gideon's army and whittled it down to 300 and said that was enough, that same God is with us today if we'll use him. Now, before I go to my guest, I've got to do the first commercial today. I've got to generate $500 for the treatment. Are you out there? Didn't get it yesterday. It ended up coming in late last night. Thank you to the folks that helped. But please, we can't do that again. If you're there, if you're out there, please go to PayPal. When you get to PayPal, go to nicholslive@aol.com. nicholslive@aol.com. Two people have already started. Francisca and somebody else I can't remember. I'm sorry, I'm not on that right now. Please send something. Please. If you don't have PayPal, if you don't have that, go to Larry Nichols, Conway, Arkansas on Facebook, and there's a button. And you can use that button and punch it and use your debit card or a credit card if you're not with PayPal. But I need your help. I need it now. So let me see the dinger ding, please. Somebody's sending something, it looks like. I got a message. Sorry about that. So anyway, folks, I'd like to introduce you now. Let me see what this message is. Larry, do you think they will use Gary Johnson as the third-party candidate? Poll came out yesterday saying he has 13%, and he needs 15% to be in the debates. I don't know. Listener, I do not know. But don't worry. If they pick somebody and put them in, I think you've all seen by now, they can make those polls show anything they want to make them show. So if they need 15% to get him in a debate, he'll be in the debate. I'm just not sure that's the person that they're going to use. Now, having said that, I'd like to go to my guest. Her name is Vanessa Feltner. And Vanessa sang yesterday at an event in Cleveland. An event that was held not at the convention center, but off premise, where Alex Jones and others held an event for America. Vanessa, are you there?
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Fine. How are you? Thank you for coming on the program. Tell people about what event you were at.
I just first want to say you are a incredibly wise and courageous man, and I appreciate you so much and all the work you're doing to expose the Clintons.
Well, thank you, Vanessa. I don't know about the wise part, and I'm certainly not courageous, but
yes, you are. Yes, you are. And we were at the Citizens for Trump America First rally in Cleveland. It was out in a park, and we had multiple guests, like you said, Larry. We had Alex Jones, Roger Stone, Jen Morgan, Diamond and Silk, and I was privileged enough to sing on the program with people like that. They're so great. And I sang my song I wrote for Mr. Trump. I'm Ready to Make America Great Again, and also the national anthem. We had a great time. Great, great time.
Great. Well, what was it like?
Well, you know what? First thing I want to say is I believe that the media is just nuts. They exaggerated that the Black Lives Matter and the Black Panthers were going to riot and protest and disrupt our rally, and they said all these things to persuade the Trump followers to not come. And
Right.
when we got there, right, and when we got there, it was so peaceful. I was told there was like 80 Black Lives Matter over off the side. I personally did not see them, but I was told they were there. But no one did anything. And the atmosphere was so positive and so powerful. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just such positive attitudes. And I remember one thing Alex Jones said, how many people out here had on their Hillary for Prison T-shirts. And oh my goodness, there were so many of them.
Well,
it's almost like an anti-Hillary event.
Well, Vanessa, I'm glad you said that, because that truly is the gist of this race. It's not so much Trump against Hillary. It's whether or not the people that know Hillary, and I'm talking about the 40% that don't like Hillary. And the reason they don't like her, Vanessa, is because they know her. They have taken the time to know the true history.
Amen.
It's whether this 40% can activate each other to make sure our 40% get out and vote. But also, can our 40% get out and get the word to the 20% that don't care? Because remember, Vanessa, the 20% that don't care, they're not going to get it from 24-hour news networks. They're not going to get it from advertisements.
They're going to get it from us.
They're going to get it from us.
Just this last
and that's
week,
what we've got to do.
I had a neighbor of two. They were undecided, and they changed their mind and came to my door and asking me for a Trump yard sign. And I was so excited. I go, what changed your mind? And they said Hillary Clinton at the same time. And then another person called my mother, and right out of the blue, this person doesn't even talk about politics, but he just caught up and said, I hate Hillary Clinton. She's a crook. And I'm like, amen. It seems like God is taking the blinders off people's eyes.
Wow. Well, I just got this from Leading Edge. Norovirus starting to affect convention attendees. 10 or more delegates from California have been plagued with vomiting and diarrhea. They are being sequestered. See, looky there. By the way, Vanessa, Jerry just sent $10 to PayPal. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much for the help, buddy. Thank you. Look, they're going to pull they're going to pull every dirty trick under the sun. Just get ready for it. Get used to it. Now, I don't know if there really is, Vanessa, a norovirus attacking people from California. They can lie about that. They can. And remember, the California delegation is one of the delegations that did not want Trump, as I figure it. So they might be doing this simply as a way to scare other delegates away from the convention.
I wouldn't be surprised remotely. Not at all.
So, Vanessa, you felt like there was ample security.
Absolutely. Well, what was so great is we were all waiting for the bikers to arrive. And when they did arrive, there were, 30, 40 of them. And they all come walking in, and everybody started applauding, and they circled around the stage and protected everything, in addition to all of the security we already had. Tim Salati did most of the arranging for the event. He did an incredible job. And Roger Stone did his event, too.
Who did that?
Tim Salati Sr. Tim Salati Sr., he is over Citizens for Trump. And he's quite brilliant, and he did an excellent job. And
were the police nice to you?
I didn't get to talk to any of them, but they were scattered throughout the audience. They sort of came and go. But but we had really great security staff, and I was sitting beside the stage. I didn't really wander around the park very much, and the policemen, not the policemen, I'm sorry, the security and the bikers, they were all around the stage, and I was so protected. And one of my friends come walking up, and they stopped him immediately until I said, he's my friend, and they let him in. Yeah, the security was top notch. They did a great job. I wasn't afraid at all. And all of that media was just a bunch of hype, because it didn't happen. Nothing they said happened.
You know, Vanessa, the media is complicit in trying to drive down attendance to the convention. That's what all that was about.
Absolutely.
Now,
there were so many of the Trump followers that wouldn't go.
Now, I'm not saying, folks, there's not going to be somebody shooting somebody. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that a lot of the media surrounding this event was designed to stop people from coming.
Absolutely.
And Vanessa, it's a little off subject with you, but I got to say this. I've just got to say this. Do y'all know the one thing in common with the shooter in Dallas and the shooter in Baton Rouge? Does anybody out there know? The one thing that's in common with both of them that apparently nobody's touching on? Well, let me tell you. Both of them recently came back from the military serving in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Oh, my.
Now, what does that tell somebody like me? Now, folks, this is one of those things. Remember the 3 rules here. If I tell you something, I can produce evidence to prove it, and I state the evidence. If I quote somebody else, I quote the source by which I got it. And usually I make pretty sure that the source is qualified. But then the third thing is when I tell you something, but it's something that I believe. This is me. This is me saying it. So listen to me. This is me saying this. But the one thing nobody is talking about is the fact that both of these guys came back from the Middle East. And what that tells me is they were converts to Islam.
Radical.
This was Islam. It was not Black Lives Matters. It was not Black Panthers. These were people, I believe, motivated by conversion to Sharia law. Terrorism, terrorist. And the reason I think
a real problem.
Yeah, the reason I think it, Vanessa, so that the audience can know, the reason I believe this is because they have not stressed the point that they both got back from the Middle East. As a matter of fact, one of the signature signs was from the mother of the shooter in Dallas. And she said her son was never the same when he came back from Iraq. It wasn't the same. And that's,
she knew?
I think she knew. I think.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I just got this. I am hearing that it is a Lewandowski staffer left there when he was fired, who was the speech writer. I don't know. I just got that. Wouldn't surprise me. Lewandowski, for all that he was or wasn't, he was pretty much an amateur on the national stage. So this would probably make sense. So anyway, back to what I was saying, Vanessa. The shootings that I saw take place in Dallas and in Baton Rouge reeks, I mean, literally reeks of the terrorist. Not some Black Lives Matter guy that just went a little nuts. Not to me.
Why wouldn't they tell that subject? Why wouldn't they tell the truth about that? Why would they cover that up?
By the way, I got 10 in from Cindy. Cindy, thank you so much, hon. Well, the reason they don't tell it is the same reason they don't tell. The reason they don't mention Islam, fundamentalist Islam terrorist, every time something happens. Obama and this administration do not want people to believe that. They don't. And I believe, Vanessa, I'm not putting you in this, this is me, but I believe that Obama is dedicated and is Muslim.
Oh, so do I, 100%. And I believe he's sending the refugees into our country to fundamentally change our country to an Islamic state. I've always believed that. And now, with George Soros behind him wanting to destabilize and bankrupt our country, send all the refugees, take our jobs, make us pay for them. No, I totally agree with you, Larry.
Well, I think we're in a situation, Vanessa, to where Obama would love nothing better than to have a shooting war start between the police and the blacks, or between whites and blacks. Anything that Obama can do, because there's something, you haven't been a part of the program, but here we talk about all the time, the fact that Obama would like to stay president. And one of the ways that he can stay president is by declaring FEMA provisional government, which he can do in the case of riots in 5 major cities and a national crisis. And of course, shooting breaking out everywhere would certainly qualify under that. So I'm just throwing it out for y'all to think about, folks. I want you all to think nothing happens today by chance. Do you understand that, y'all? Nothing happens by chance. There are no accidents when it comes to politics. No matter what anybody tries to lead you to believe, it don't happen that way. So, Vanessa, if you don't mind, you have a fascinating history. Where did you come from before you got back here? What were you doing for the last 3 years?
The last 3 years, I was working in China. I was playing the piano and singing at a hotel in Chengdu, China, managing a band and doing a radio show.
Well, for the listeners here, we've all heard how great China is. You know, I told you today when you and I talked that I couldn't help but notice the PI number in China today was 241 in Beijing. 241, folks. Now, y'all don't know, I bet you what the PI is. I'm sorry, what, honey?
It's usually around 600. It's extremely high in Beijing. It used to be the same in Shanghai, but now they're doing something to correct the intense air pollution. I would open my drapes in the morning in Chengdu, and sometimes I could not even see. You know how sometimes we get heavy fog here and you can barely see? But that isn't pollution, but it's pollution there. It's so bad. And it's just dirty. The buildings are dirty from all the dirty fog from all of the manufacturers.
Not to interrupt us, but it's what I do here when I get a text from a listener. I got a text from a listener. I'm curious, does the blackmail Hitler has over Washington have to do with events that occurred over the last 15 years? Well, to the listener, let me tell you, Hillary has what's called the FBI raw data files. This is when they go to get security clearances and security investigations of all senators, congressmen, their staffers, everybody. It's called raw data. It's not necessarily verified. It's, you know, when they're doing a security clearance like they did on me and as they've done on others, when they do a security clearance, they go up and down your neighborhood. They go up and down the neighborhood where you lived when you were growing up. And they ask all kinds of things. And neighbors have a tendency to say all kinds of things, not the majority of which is true, but they still say it. Well, Hillary has that. And she makes it known to everyone in Washington that she has it. So is it the last 15 years? It could be on some of them. It could be the past 60 years on some of them. She's got every dirty deed they've ever done. She has it and is ready to use it if they cross her. Now back to China. You know, we hear about this great thing, this great business stuff we're doing with China. Well, first off, let me say, Vanessa, all of those big buildings and all of those big factories and all of that stuff you saw in China, that was compliments of American workers. Those jobs they're doing there, those are jobs Americans were supposed to be doing, but they got them. And one of the ways they got them, Vanessa, was the fact that over here, the standards we put on our industry, while I do not wish upon our nation the same pollution that they have in China, but because of OSHA and all of the rules that are placed on our industry, it's not possible for our industry to compete. China, they don't care about their people. They don't care that they lose the same every day in China, as I'm told. The equivalent of a 727, 10 of them a day crash, essentially the number of people that die from the air pollution. I'm amazed that you have such a clear voice coming back from China. I'm sorry?
Well, I didn't go outside. I didn't go outside much. A lot of them are dying from cancer, yes. And I have asthma, so I'm very, very careful when I was there. I would check the air numbers every day before I went outside. And if it was over 200, I didn't go out. And if I did go out, then I would get directly into the taxi, directly into the building, back directly into the taxi, back directly into my building, because I know I can see it. My eyes would actually hurt. They hurt till I came home. About a couple of weeks after, they stopped hurting. It was all from all the really bad air pollution there. I worry about my Chinese friends there because, young people are dying of cancer. And it's the pollution and their heavy smoking, of course. That doesn't help matters.
Well, I'm a heavy smoker, so I can't argue with that one. But I will say this. Another thing. We always hear about the great wealth in China. Are there any industries in China that you saw, Vanessa, major industries, that are able to do it as entrepreneurs, individuals?
Oh, no, they have to be owned in some part by the government because that's how it is. Even the banks are in Western Union. Everybody is owned by the government. I mean, little small businesses, I really don't know, but I do know the big businesses have to have some ownership by the government. It's all about the government in China, mark my word.
Now, folks, the reason I'm asking Vanessa about the stuff about China, because I know y'all are all sitting here wanting me to talk about Hillary and what's going on in our election today here. What's very important, what Vanessa's talking about, how it is in China, having lived there for the past 3 years. Because you see, that's the world that Hillary wants for us.
I've had Chinese friends actually tell me they recognize communism in our country. They had the nerve to tell me that. And it stopped me in my tracks because I thought, dear God, if there's someone from China who is a communist can see that happening in our country, what are we going to do? We have to do something. We have to stop it. Now, we have to elect Donald Trump and stop it. Just stop it.
That's right. Now, folks, Vanessa lived in China for 3 years. Is there anything in China, Vanessa? Now, I know some of the people you met were wonderful people. I'm sure they were, some of them.
They were. I loved them dearly.
But did you like living under the thumb of the government, just as it will be, folks, under Hillary? Now, let's take it step by step. What about churches that you saw in China, Vanessa?
There was a $12 million church. And what happened is where we have states, they have areas where a different leader is appointed. And it's sort of up to that leader to decide whether they're going to persecute Christians or not. So this church was approved. So then after it was approved and built, and I don't know how long it was in existence, the new guy comes in and he says, that it wasn't built according to code, and gave them a couple weeks to change it, which was impossible, right? So the next thing I see is in China they have red crosses, and they're really huge. And so there was this church and all these bulldozers, and in front of the church was a line of military with weapons, and then facing them was a line of the church members, and this crane was bringing down the cross slowly as all the church people were sobbing and singing near the cross. And I tell you, Larry, I broke down and sobbed, because right after that happened in that little area, he went ahead and he leveled all the small churches too. And then I'm told that the leader of the country had a directive to stop Christianity, because it was growing so fast. I mean, we're talking in the millions. It's like wildfire growing there. They don't have anything to believe in, and they believe their freedom lies in God, because that's the only freedom, real freedom they have. And so it's just sweeping across the country. And the response from the government was to start the Three Self Church, which is a government-owned church. And this was to stop Christianity, or let me say redirect it. Because I looked at the bylaws of the church, this Three Self Church, and one of the laws is you cannot be a Christian, you cannot believe in Jesus Christ, and the government approves every sermon preached in those churches. So this created the underground, where all the churches started going into homes and holding services, and if they get caught, they go to prison, 4 years minimum. So all of a sudden, the leader has them taking down crosses all across China. When I left, it was up to 2,000. And arresting pastors right and left, and people sleeping on the top of their churches, guarding their crosses. It's heartbreaking to see these Christians who are newfound Christians, and they have that first love for Jesus Christ, and they're holding on to that cross, sleeping on top of that cross. And the police are coming there and physically removing them, taking them away to prison. And the families don't even know sometimes where their relatives or loved ones are. And they are being abused. I've done so many radio shows on this subject.
Now, you told me something else, that even the attorneys that represented the churches,
they're gone. They were arrested. They did a sweep. They did a sweep one day, Larry, and they picked up almost every attorney that ever represented anybody over being a Christian or any kind of independence, freedom thing, anything like that. They were arrested. And gradually, some of them were let go. And I'm not there now, so I don't know what happened to the rest of them. I do know that the families didn't even know where their loved ones were.
Now, folks, I'll tell you this, because as she was saying, the first step apparently that they used there was the church had to be in accordance with the government version, right?
Yeah, and they have to have a license for that church. If you build a church, you have to have a license, and it has to be government sanctioned.
It has to be government sanctioned. Now, you see here, folks, we've got it a little bit slipperier than that. Here we call it 501c3. So at any time, the government can come in and they can actually dictate to a 501c3 church what they can or cannot preach out of the Bible. Now, you can say, well, they haven't done that yet. No, they haven't gone that far yet. But you wait until Hillary gets there, and it will happen. I assure you. I promise
it's already started. It's already started, because some pastors have been told you can't preach on different subjects, and that's already censorship. That goes against our freedom of speech.
Well, then the next step that will happen here when Hillary gets elected is just what you saw in China, Vanessa. Just exactly what you saw. They'll come through and they will destroy churches. Any church in this country, any church in this country that does not comply. Now, in China, it's like you said, Vanessa, they have to have a license. They have to be approved by the government. Well, see, here, they're going to make it to where if the church you're going to is not 501c3, they're going to shut it down and bulldoze it over. Now you say that can't happen. Well, folks, it did in Indianapolis.
It'll happen.
It did.
Really?
I can't remember the preacher's name. Yes, my mind just went blank. But it's already happened here. And it will happen everywhere.
I see it coming. And people got to wake up. They just have to wake up and get their heads out of the sand and see what's really happening.
Now, Vanessa, if you were given an opportunity today to live in America, the America that you knew when you left a little over 3 years ago, or China, which of the two would you choose to live in the rest of your life and bring your family up in?
Well, I'd rather live in this country if it's the country that our forefathers founded it on God and the Bible. My goodness, if Hillary Clinton gets in or they put in martial law or whatever, I'll pack my mother's bags and get her out of here because I don't want to see my family hurt, because we're Christians. Christians will be the ones that, they lock up or kill. Who knows? I mean,
by the way, it's Dr. Greg Dixon, whose church was literally bulldozed over because he would not comply with 501c3, in case anybody wants to check it out. Dr. Greg Dixon, if you don't believe it. Now, the reason I ask you that, Vanessa, is because that's this election. You see, folks, this whole discussion with Vanessa has been about this election. Do you want this country to become China? Or do you want it to be America? And when I say America, I don't mean America that we see today. I'm talking about America the way we were meant to be. That's what this election's about. That's why I tell you, this election is either about going forward, getting back to the way we're supposed to be, or going down. That's what we're up against. That's what this election, I've been told. I skipped the third commercial. Let me do this, Vanessa, right quick. Folks, we're almost out of time. I've got to have the 500 today. We've gotten in about 60. So please, if you're out there and you can, please go to PayPal, Nichols Live at AOL.com. And if not, if you can't use PayPal, please go to Larry Nichols, Conway, Arkansas, on my Facebook page, and there's a button there, and you can use your debit card or a credit card. But I need your help. Vanessa, it's kind of tough, me having to ask, but it's keep me going, I guess. There's some reason for that.
Well, you need to keep going, Larry. You absolutely need to keep going. You're like a prophet in this day and age where people need to hear the truth. When truth is so distorted and muddled and buried, have become not, I want to say, lukewarm. Right now, I believe that we're seeing revelation come to fruition. And I believe right now we have to wake up spiritually. Right now, we have to get closer to God. We have to, if you're away from God, renew your relationship with Him. If you're not a Christian, get saved. Accept Him into your life. Because when the end of times come, we're going to be the ones that are going to be taken up to heaven, and we won't have to suffer all the horrible things that are going to come to pass. But you need Jesus, and you need to accept Him into your heart and life. And Christians, wake up. Stop using indifference as a Christian. I have noticed that, people in China will sacrifice their lives to serve Jesus Christ. And people here, I don't want to go to church. I don't have anything to wear. You stop taking your freedoms for granted. Recognize the fact that we still have our freedom to worship and use those freedoms. Worship God. Get closer to Him. I guess that's about all I have to say.
Those are good words. Good words. Folks,
Thank you so
Vanessa,
much for having
thank
me,
you for
Larry.
being on today. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I love you dearly. I'm praying for you, and I have a whole lot of other people praying for you.
Yeah, thanks, hon.
Keep in touch,
All right,
Larry.
folks. All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye. All right, folks. You heard Vanessa Felton. Very courageous lady. Listen, guys. This is the real thing. You hear me? This is the real thing. It's not a joke. This is about our country. It's about the future. We've all got to stand up. We're either going to stand up or it's going to be over. Where are you? Where are you today? Are you with us? I hope you are. I know you are. We've got this week to go through with the convention so that Donald Trump will become, hopefully, the nominee for the Republican Party. Then we will have next week to go through in Philadelphia when it will be distorted in lives all week long about Hillary. And then the race will be on. And I tell you all, get ready for the first week in August, because that's when it's all going to hit the fan. That's when we're all going to have to go to work. We're going to have to button up, get tough, and get ready. We're going to have to fight for this country. We're going to have to fight against odds that don't seem real, but they are. We're going to have to fight against odds that don't seem like we can win. But I just ask you to remember this, and it ain't coming from a preacher. It's not even coming from what somebody, I guess, would call a good Christian. But cling to the fact that in the struggle we got coming, the very same God that was alive when Gideon had his mission, that very same God is alive today. And if we ask him, he will help us. He will. And as I've told you, the first call we'll make will be to him. But after that, we're going to give him hell. And we're going to give him hell every day. Every day until they surrender. And that ain't going to be easy. That will not be easy. So, folks, if you can, please, we're out of time, way short of PayPal, way short. Can you please help anybody out there? Nothing else, one person help. We're about 400 away. With that, that's it for today.
Somewhere
See you tomorrow if I can in any way.
over the rainbow,
Thanks.
way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby.